business rates of the second learning objective, understanding the business environment in which retail businesses operate. We're looking at business rates and how that affects retailers. So here are the learning steps for lesson 7 about business rates. We're going to start off with building knowledge so that you know what they are. Then we're going to build up skills so you know what assets a business owns, the retailer owns, which get charged the business rates. Then you're going to look at the final step, being able to explain who sets business rates, who collects them and what they're spent on. So the key vocabulary is business rates, which obviously that's what we're going to learn about today. Then we're going to have a revision back from lesson 2 about indirect tax, the ones which are taxed on earnings, so that's what a retailer, a business earns. And then we've got assets. Assets are the things the business owns. That can be things like stock, can be property, can be vehicles. So the criteria, so you know that you've completed the lesson successfully, that you can state what the business rates are, you can describe what the retailers own from which they get charged the business rate, and you can explain what business rates are actually used for. We've got some tax specialist jobs at the bottom. We've got tax advisor, tax inspector and a national tax specialist as today's focus. Your task for business rates lesson 7 is the broken business rates question. What are business rates? Business rates are a tax paid on business properties. They are charged on most non-domestic properties. The tax is set by the government and collected by local authorities and contributes towards the cost of local services. Retailers who have stores and/or warehouses will have to pay business rates. Business rates are paid to local councils or authorities and are based on the rateable value of the property. In 2016, business rates raised over £27 billion for councils in the UK. Business rates are an example of indirect tax. And if you remember from lesson 2 when we looked into tax, then we need to just revise the difference between indirect and direct tax. Indirect tax is the tax on expenditure and not income. That's the one where businesses that have to pay indirect tax tend to pass the cost on to consumers by increasing prices. Here's our first case study. Asda and Boots urge reform of broken rate system. Bosses of more than 50 retailers, including Asda and Boots, have written to the government urging them to change tax rules to boost the UK high street. The group said it wanted him to fix the broken business rate system, which it called outdated. It said the tax had jumped by 50% since the 1990s and had contributed to some retailers going out of business. The government said it had announced a £3.6 billion fund last month to support our high streets and town centres. In the letter to the government, the group pointed out that the retail sector accounted for 5% of the economy, but paid 25% of all business rates, a property-based tax. It said this inequality was damaging high streets and harming the communities they support. As a result, the group said that there was a growing number of empty shops, with vacancy rates at a 4.5-year high. Business rates are a tax on properties used for business. They are charged by the local council but set by central government. The tenants or owners of offices, shops, pubs and warehouses all pay business rates. James Lohman, the chief executive of the Association of Convenience Stores, told the BBC Today's programme, "It's a really outdated system. It's designed for a time when there only was a physical retail and people doing business from physical premises. That has been changing for a long time." Here are your questions about the article we've just looked at. Question 1. Define what is meant by the term business rates. So in that one we need to look at a definition. What is it that gets taxed? After all, this is a whole topic about tax. This is a topic about tax on businesses, and the businesses we're looking at is retail. So what tax are retailers having to pay with the term business rates? Now this is quite specific, And if it were an exam question, this would be a 1 point question, because you just got to find the thing that they're getting tax on, and that's a clue. And you'll find the answer on slide 5. Do you know what though? A copy of which is here for you to give you a ridiculously purple flavoured clue as to what the answer is. Question 2. Explain how the business rate system disadvantages physical store retailers. Well, to answer this question, you really need to focus on the final 2 paragraphs of the case study. And here they are for you, so we can focus on the points that they're making. Now, if you focus on the James Lohman quote, where he says it's a really outdated system, it's designed for a time when there were only physical retailers, and that's been changing for a long time. So if there are not just physical retailers now, what other type of retail exists? And then if you link that to the paragraph above on business rates or a tax on, look at the purple, and then you can have a look at, that's why businesses need to pay the tax. So if you are a physical retailer, look at the level of tax that you get, because you've got your premises, you've got your storage, you've got your warehouse, and we've got all these things. Or if you are an online business, what have you got in terms of a premises, a property? And which have we got more of in terms of the type of retailer? Have we got more physical retailers? Think of what's happening with the high street. Think of what we're doing at the moment, or where we're going shopping now. And the last point is, as this is an explain question, you should really look for extended sentences. So you're going to make your statement and you're going to have an extended sentence with the word because. The XYZ is a disadvantage because, and then you put the explanation at the end. And I would recommend that you have at least 2 disadvantages for your response here, if you can stretch it that far. There you go, you've completed the work list for Business Rates Lesson 7. You've done the broken business rates questions.